Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk About It. Hey, you know it's Thursday and me, Anastasia, and I are ready, right, Anastasia?
Most definitely. Having a wonderful week so far, enjoying the break. How are you doing, Miss Deborah?
I'm doing wonderful. No complaints. I'm super excited about this week, and so I am just glad to be here. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We know you could be anywhere else, so we're excited that you decided to tune in and let's talk about it. We appreciate your likes, your shares, and your comments. And so we hope we'll see lots of comments today. And please share. We love it when you share. So we have a great topic. Hopefully you will agree with me that we have a great topic today, and it is I hear you. I hear you. And I guess you say, yeah, I hear you. You hear me? But yes, I do hear you. But guess what? Putting all jokes aside, if you are a parent, a grandparent, an educator, a pastor, a youth pastor, a mentor, a neighbor, anyone of that nature, you are someone that somebody is looking up to. You may not be aware of it, but they are looking up to you. And if something is going on with them, they are hoping that you hear them.
Yeah.
And you may think, well, when they come, I listen. But do you listen? But do you hear them?
Mm.
Because if I just say, hey, mom, I want that pair of Air Jordans with the pink and purple stripe down it, all you hear is, I need shoes. You're not hearing them. You need to hear exactly what they're saying. You need to look at those um, gestures, facial expressions, the body, what they may not even be saying, but there are a lot of things that you can hear if you really listen. And so I'm just going to give you some of those before we get into it. But some of those things, you need to make sure that you're giving them your full attention. You keep an open mind. You're not judgmental. You're not fiddling with the phone. Yeah. So you said that there's no such thing as multitasking. You can do certain things and you're trying to do them in unison, but you don't have a full focus on either one of those things. You don't try to push or pry them to agree with what you want them to do. So if they come to you and they're talking about something you've always wanted them to be in that family business and they're telling you why is they don't want to, you have to hear that. It may not be what you want, but you gotta have to hear that. You have to be engaging, give them eye contact, let them know that you hear them. Do you agree, Anastasia? I know you are much younger than I am, so I know generations change and the way people perceive things change, but do you agree or disagree?
Absolutely, especially at the part about not being distracted and fiddling with your phone and doing other things while you're talking to somebody. You know, um, Active listening, that active attention, that intentional attention, it's irreplaceable. And so, as we get into just a few of those things that you mentioned, we can dive a little bit deeper, you know, go a little bit further and see how we can not only help our youth, but we may be able to give you tips today that'll help you with your work environment. We may be able to give you tips today that'll help you with your marriage. We may be able to give you tips today that you can apply to many other areas of your life. And so we're going to jump right in and we're going to look at giving your full attention.
Right.
So, as Miss Deborah mentioned, you don't want to be distracted. while you're talking to somebody. You don't want to be on your phone. You don't want to be watching the TV. You don't want to be trying to write something down. You want to give your full attention. A part of giving your full attention is giving that eye contact. A part of giving your full attention is being stationary. If you're in motion and you're in movement, then your attention is divided. Even if it's unintentionally, it's still divided because you're focused on not tripping and falling. You're focused on which left or right turn you're going to make next. Either way, unintentionally, you're still distracted. So try to be stationary when you're having these conversations with people. And so, first, be present, not just physically there. I'm sure we've all had the conversation with somebody that we're talking and talking and telling them this interesting story, and we feel like we're just hitting all the points. And then when we get to the joke of the story, their facial expression doesn't change. That's because they are physically there, but they are not actually paying attention to you. Don't be one of those persons. If you're trying to get to the root of a problem or to resolve an issue, you're going to have to be present, not just physically there. Two, as I mentioned, you're going to have to use your active listening skills and be able to reflect back on what was said to you. That's how you know that you were giving your full attention. If after the phrase is said, the conversation is had, you're able to think back and you can remember what the person said to you, you can remember what their facial expressions were in the moment, you can remember how what they said made you feel, then you know that you gave them your full attention, not just a partial bit of you. And third, you're going to be looking for those nonverbal cues. Miss Deb began to mention it earlier when, especially in speaking with children and also with adults, there are physical cues that you can see. And if you're truly paying attention to someone, you're going to know what they are. If you're talking to somebody and they start to hang their head down, or they start twiddling with their thumb, or they start to divert their eye contact away from you, then it's a sign of either guilt or shame, or it could be a cue that they're lying. There are physical cues that people give unintentionally that can let us know what they are feeling about what it is that you're saying to them, or also how truthful they are in what they're saying to you. And so, one, yes, it takes for you to get to know that person and to actually spend time with them and to see and know who they are, to be able to pick up on them. But especially in relationships with family members, with someone that you say is your close friend, someone that is your coworker that you spend all of these many hours with every week, you should be able to see at least the most obvious of the physical cues to when they're uncomfortable with a conversation or to when they're about to cry. You see, there's nothing like when you're talking to someone and they are so busy in the conversation that they are having that they don't notice that your eyes start to well up because you're saddened by the topic of the conversation, or the topic brought you to something else in your mind. It was a trigger for you for something else that happened in your past, or some sort of trauma, or some type of loss, that you've experienced. So, our first tip with the subsets would be to make sure that you are giving your full attention. What are
Yes,
your thoughts, Miss Deborah?
most definitely. And that is so important because, I was sitting here as you were talking and I was thinking, but, my kids are all adults, but sometimes I have to have a crucial conversation with one of them. And I remember recently called one of my sons, like, hey, I need to talk with you. Okay, go ahead. No, I need to talk with you. What do you mean, mom? You need to come over here or whatever, but we need to talk. Okay, well they were busy. I understood that, but they did get on FaceTime with me because I needed to be look at them because I wanted to make sure that I had their attention, that they were
Right.
hearing what it was that my concern was. Because if they weren't hearing me, they weren't paying me any attention, then
Mm-hmm.
my concern wasn't getting dealt with. So that is so important. And I know, today families are so busy. So I don't take that from families. Parents have different activities, they work, the children have activities. And so that sitting down at the dinner table is not mandated in a lot of homes, but I think that is
Mm-hmm.
something that is missing. You need to be sitting at that table with no TV on, no electronics whatsoever. You've seen the commercial. I think it's two adults and the mom and dad, and they say, "Oh, but this is important. I gotta call. I got this is work. Okay, well, work need to wait." So if you didn't have it with you, you couldn't do anything with it because people say, "Oh well," they go in the meeting, they say no phones, but you go and I'm gonna turn it upside down, but you're gonna hear it. So what's the first thing you do if you hear it? You're just not gonna sit there and not pay any attention. You're going, okay, yeah, what you say? But you took your thought because when you turn to see if something was wrong with a family member or with something juicy or something, you you're not paying them any attention anymore. You're trying to see
Right.
who this is on this phone. So when they say no, don't even bring them to the table. Don't have them
Right.
in the room. That's the only way you're not going to pay any attention. So those things are so, so important that, and nowadays, a lot of kids are young people, I call them kids, but I'm talking young adults as well. They are reluctant to speak with you anyway. And this could be a mentor, not just parents, but a mentor, an employer, or anybody. So they're reluctant anyway, but then if they're trying to talk and you're not paying them any attention, you think they're going to keep doing it? No. And
Right.
then if something happens to them, they were trying to talk with me. I missed that. How did the one I find interesting? I missed that. What they were trying to tell you, you wouldn't listen.
Right.
So that's why we think that one is so, so key. And
Mhm.
all of them are, but we couldn't talk about all of them, so we just picked out four.
Yeah.
Um, the next one is show empathy. Sometimes because you are taking that leadership role or that role of the one that is having the conversation or listening to the conversation or trying to get that point across, you think your way is right. So let's just say, I was mentioned earlier about you want that child to come into the family business. Well, have empathy for that child. They are you if hopefully you have raised them to be smart, to be intelligent, to think on their own, to be independent. So allow them to do that. Listen to their concerns. Yes, it's something that they can just go in and start out making money. However,
Mhm.
why is this other thing a passion for them? You want to hear. So take your ego out of there. When I say an empathy, that's kind of the way I'm using it. Take your ego out of the scenario and fully listen to feel what it is that they have to say. Like I don't know how many the movie is old now, but I just love it, love it, love it. I have to watch it every Christmas, but I might watch it other times too. But this Christmas, when baby could sing, but because of other things that had happened in the family, he didn't want his mom to know he could sing, but he could really sing. And we know Chris Brown can sing. So that was something that was his talent. That was his purpose that God had given him. But because he was so afraid of what his mom was going to say, he didn't even want to talk to her about it. And then when he did, she had this Because if you see in the movie, even in the church, when he's getting ready to sing, she's never heard him sing, but she was getting ready to say, "Oh no, you're not."
Mhm.
So that's why I think that having that empathy is important. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, definitely. I agree. A part of having empathy and truly, truly showing empathy for someone is when you are listening without judgment. Because when a person feels judged, when you create that feeling of guilt or you impress that feeling of guilt on them, then they're not going to come to you anymore. As Miss Deborah said, they're not going to come to you anymore. Also, if you try to disregard their feelings, because a person is 6 years old, that does not mean that their experiences are any less valid. They're just able to tell you what they're experiencing and what they're feeling from their perspective, from that 6-year-old perspective, or from that 16-year-old perspective that has not been paying bills and paying taxes and planning travel and family trips and things like that, and who has not been in the working world and all of that stuff. And so as adults, we tend to think and feel that, you know what? You are 6 years old. You are 16 years old. What do you know about stress? What do you know about hardship? What do you know about love? But the information that they're giving you and the conversations that they're trying to have is from their perspective. And so that's a part of being able to show empathy, not judging and making sure that you realize that their feelings are valid. And so, as we look into the next one, we're looking at don't push or attempt to pry information out of them. I know it's hard. Miss Deborah, you look guilty. You look guilty. Listen, I want you to I want you to share, I want you to pass this stream around. I'm sure that you know somebody that has poked and pried on you, somebody that you've wanted to poke and pry on, a time when you have watched somebody poke and pry into their kid and you felt uncomfortable for that kid. Like, share, spread this video. And as we talk about not poking and prying, you know, we're also talking about respecting privacy, respecting boundaries. And so when we're thinking about respecting somebody's boundaries, their privacy, their space, then we're thinking about how it is that we show our interest. It needs to come from a place of curiosity. How do we make it seem that it's from a place of curiosity? And I did say seem, but how do we make it seem as if it's from a place of curiosity and not just being nosy? We can ensure that after we've had this conversation, that it is kept private. If it's something that you truly wanted to know, you saw that there's been a change in their behavior, you saw that they're not doing something particular that was in their usual routine, anything of that nature, and you're just interested, you are curious, then you're going to want to ask questions. But your questions are going to come from a place of interest and curiosity, not just being nosy. An indicator that it's from a place of being nosy or looking to gossip is when you're on the phone with the cousins or the aunties later on that evening and you're talking about what it was that was shared with you earlier in confidence. That is definitely one of the signs of it not being a genuine conversation. Another way is when we take to social media. A lot of times I see people give these testimonial stories and they account on what it is what conversation it is that they've had with their kids. And I don't think that they've spoken to their kid beforehand to say if that child wants that conversation to be posted all over social media. because you are my parent, because I attend your church, because we attend the same school and you're my teacher, then because I know that I've shared that story with you, I am going to feel like all eyes are on me after you've already shared it.
Right.
It's not reality because you're not calling any names, or, if you have multiple kids, you're not saying which kid it is that said this story or had this experience. But I know that I was the one. And so you are now giving me this feeling that, one, I can't trust you. That's the first feeling that I'm going to get. I can't trust you because you're going to go ahead and tell the whole world. And two, that all eyes are on me. Like everybody just knows, you know?
Right.
That's like Killing Me Softly, the Fugees hit, you know? He,
Yes.
he just felt like everyone in the room knew that he was talking about her. And that's not the feeling that you want to give to someone that you want to continue to open up for you and continue to build that relationship. And also with respecting boundaries and respecting privacy, we're going to look at the timing of these conversations. If a child, adult person is in the midst of tears, absolute tears, falling apart, rolling on the floor, full dramatics, that may not be the time to poke and prod and involve yourself in their situation. It may just be the time that you sit next to them and be that shoulder for them to cry on, be that ear that listens when they are ready to speak, not poking and prying and what's wrong with you, especially if it comes with aggression. What's wrong with you? What happened?
Tell me now.
Tell me now. Who I gotta kill? No, we're not talking about killing nobody. We're not killing nobody. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But if you approach it with aggression, or you choose a timing that is inappropriate, and not even just in a sense of sadness or despair, but if the timing of you trying to have this conversation is in the middle of a family reunion, it's in the middle of a family gathering, and you want to talk to me about having my period? Mom, come on. Let's be mindful of timing. Because while we're thinking about not pushing and prying and respecting boundaries and privacy, one, establishing where your line of questioning is coming from a place of love and curiosity, rather than just being nosy or wanting to gossip. And two, timing is very, very important. What are your thoughts, Miss Deborah?
I agree so much with you. Not only is that timing, but like you say, you hear your conversation again, that's just you just destroying the whole thing, because it's I can't trust you. I came to
Mhm.
you, you came to me, we were talking, and now I'm hearing it from someone else. I can't trust you. I'm not going to talk to you, you know? So that's really, really bad. And there's nothing like, you know, being in a group or a church or anything, and you hear your situation and it's like, really? Really? Never again. And I've talked about this before. When you keep things inside, that is definitely not good. But
Mhm.
if you cannot trust the person that you think you should be able to trust, what are you going to do?
Right.
You don't have anybody to talk with. So it's very, very essential. And again, as Anastasia was saying, you just don't, well, you going to tell me what? Why? No, you don't do it that way. You want them to talk to you. So even if you start the conversation out about something totally different, and you kind of
Mhm.
get around to it to see if they will open up to have that discussion. Because If they don't want to talk about it, they're not going to talk about it. They tell you some of everything else, and it's not even what's really bothering them. So you got to pick the right time, the right place. Don't forget, we talked about having empathy. We talked about, uh, you know, you're giving them your full attention. All of that is so very important.
Mhm.
And again, I was telling Anastasia before we started, I heard yesterday, I can't remember, it had probably was Tuesday, because yesterday I didn't have internet all day. So Tuesday, I'm going to say, in Dallas, there was an active shooter at a school. Then today in Tallahassee, Florida, there was an active shooter. And I know someone's dead in this one, and I want to say it was 4 people that lost their lives in Dallas. So if something is bothering someone and they need to talk, we need to hear them. We need to hear, because how many of these people tried to talk with someone and they didn't listen?
Right.
And so they just, well, nobody will listen. I'm about sick of this. And, this person just doing this to me. They did that to me. And I'm trying to tell my mom, and she asking me something about my clothes. I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. I'm sick of it.
Right. Right.
So we have to listen. We really, really have to listen. We have to hear.
Mhm.
So thank y'all for tuning in. I guess you say, is she live? Because she didn't say, she didn't call anybody's name. I am here, but this topic I think is just so relevant because of all the things that are happening in the
Yes.
world. And I do think a lot of it comes from everybody in a hurry, and we're not taking that time to listen. And then again, weapons are so easy to get a hold of. So they can do a lot of damage. And so Peggy and Evelyn, Dan, Deacon Holmes, Shonda, I see y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Now, this last one, this is a mouthful, but regardless of what is going on, show support. You may disagree, but it may be something you have to accept. So yeah, I'm going real left on this one. It can be anything. I don't care what it is. You can be what's the term they use? I'm not going to even use the term. But anyway, you just say you have a child and they come to you and they're questioning their sexuality. Don't just go all ego, my son or my daughter's not going to block. No, remember, you got to listen. You got to have empathy. You got to give them your attention. Listen to what it is they're saying. You may not agree with it, but listen.
Right.
It may be that they're just confused. They need to speak with someone, but if you are not listening and they can't get to that person that's closest to them that can help them find the help that they need, it's a lost cause. So you have to be open. We're not going to like everything we hear. We're just not going to. They may want to come to you and tell you they're pregnant. They may want to come to you and tell you that they're marrying somebody of a different race and you just hate that. They may come to you and tell you they have a chronic disease, but they don't really want to tell you because you got a lot going on. You never know what it is, but they're coming to you because they feel that they can. So you have to be open and listen to what it is they're saying. And let's let them know, hey, I'm here for you. I might not agree with it, but we're going to work it out together. But you can't do that if you're not listening to everything that's going on with that situation, because whatever it is, it has more than one solid, it's not something that's in a box. It has different components, different variables, different ways of looking at it. So we have to be open and just love in spite of whatever, because who says we got all the right answers? I know I don't. So just be supportive and open.
Mm. Yeah, I gotta snap my fingers for that one, Miss Deborah. I gotta snap my fingers for that one because I have these types of situations more so with my daughter than with my son. She is the emotionally charged one between the three of us. My son and I are the ones that are always cool as a cucumber. It takes quite a lot to get an emotional response out of us or to, to rattle us. And so when it is that she comes to me with something, sometimes I am approaching it with a logical approach, but she's coming to me emotionally.
Mm.
And so there are things that we will disagree on, even if it's just a matter of response, because she's giving me the situation or the scenario, what happened at work, what happened with her friends, what happened in whatever situation, what happened at school. And I'm listening to her and she's going through the full dramatics of the situation. I think she's the one that I was talking about when I was talking about rolling all over the floor and stuff, because in her description of things, it's so vivid. That's what it sounds like to me. But my posture is pretty cool and calm. And so my response to her is the same. And while I'm giving her my advice or my perspective on the situation, my what it is that I feel like she should do or what she could have done differently, she's looking for me to feed in with her. But if I feed in with her, then both of us are just being an emotional wreck and nobody's getting any resolution. We're not getting any resolve to the situation. And sometimes that is what's needed. When your child approaches you or an adult, coworker, friend, whomever approaches you, it may not be an emotional situation, but it may be something that you do not agree with. They may be coming to you with a topic that your outlook on it is like, why in the world did you do this? Or how are you in the situation again? Or you giving that man another chance? There are times that we're gonna want to feed in or we're gonna want to give our response from a purely personal standpoint. And sometimes it needs to be logical. And a logical standpoint does not just look at in the moment and at that time, it looks beyond. It looks at, okay, my child just came to me and told me that her boyfriend cheated on her. I am not going to give her this full blown emotional response and be like, where is he? I'm going to kill him. Oh, there I go with killing people again. I don't know. I don't know. But this full on emotional response, when in fact, I may have needed to take a logical approach to it and say to her, okay, so are you done now? Has he finally crossed that line? Has he finally broken your trust? Has he finally done enough that you're no longer willing to entertain him and engage him? Because this is a decision that you have to make. You have to make this conscious decision that you're no longer willing to be with this person. And help them to weigh out those pros and cons. Help them to come to their own conclusion and get to the place of, okay, this is what I'm going to do moving forward. Because if you go with the emotional response, then you're going to end up in jail. And then who's going to take care of the family? And you're going to lose your job and everything and everything and everything, you know? And
Yes.
so while we're looking at showing support, we have to make sure that we are approaching these situations from a logical standpoint, if that's what's necessary in the moment, an empathetic standpoint, if that's what's necessary in the moment. And there may be those rare moments when an emotional response is needed. We're not trying to send anybody to jail. Let's let's stay out of the penal system. But every so often, an emotional response is needed. And so those are the things that we would want you to consider when you are not just listening, you are hearing, you are fully hearing, you are truly hearing, you are truly engaging with your children first, because it is your interactions with them that are helping to shape their future. You are that inner voice, you are the vocal to their conscience. That little voice inside their head, it has your voice, your tone. And so be mindful of what that sounds like and what that looks like for them. You don't want for that little voice to transition from being your voice to being somebody else's, especially if that other person is not someone that's going to guide them in the right way. You don't want that voice to turn into their friend's voice who is 16 along with them and sharing the same perspective and has not had the experiences or the wisdom to be able to guide anybody out of a paper bag. That's not what you want. And so make sure that as we are listening, as we are hearing, that we are taking these tips, that we are following these guidelines. You know, Miss Deborah always comes with great conversations. Maybe you'll need to look back at a previous video. One of those topics would be able to help you navigate this wildfire even better that is called, you know, adolescence and teenage life.
Yes.
It's a wildfire. It's a full forest, but there are persons that are here to help you, and Miss Deborah is definitely one of them.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, everyone ask yourself, this person, that person, they've been talking to me. Have you been hearing them? Have you been hearing? That's a great question to ask. Take that time. If you don't have that time, you're in a hurry and it looks like it's a serious conversation. And we should take everything seriously, especially with our younger people. Tell them, hey, I want to make sure that I give you my full attention. I have an appointment and I have to be there on time. I need to leave in 5 minutes. Can we talk about this when I get home today? And both of us get home and get settled. Can it
Right.
wait? Now, if it can't wait, I'll just cancel the appointment. Let me know. And mean that, because it could be something that's important to them that, hey, if you don't talk to me now, I'm going to hurt myself. I'm going to go hurt someone else. So if they tell you, I need to talk now, I need to talk now. I can't wait. I don't feel like I can wait. Then, I can't tell everybody what to do, but that sounds to me like, hey, I need to change that appointment. I have a family emergency. If you want to charge me
Yeah.
that $30, that $25 copay, go right ahead. I have a family emergency. Because most times they tell you that, but if you really have something and you call them, they won't charge you. But it's just for those people that just figure out, well, I got up, I don't feel like going, and they just don't show up. They don't call it anything. So, but you need to think about it. So like I said, I thought that this was a great topic. So I hope that you agree. I hope that you share, or go back and listen at it again. Share it with someone that you say, hey, I was listening to this and I thought about you. Whatever. Sometimes I don't say I was thinking about anybody. I just send it to them. Send them the link. Hey,
Yeah.
this is good. If it's good, hey, if it does something for me, I feel like, hey, it can help someone else. And so I'm always open to share. So thank you all for tuning in. And thank you so much, Anastasia, because you always come with that fresh, creative response, that mindset. I just love having conversations with you.
Love talking to you too, Miss Deborah.
And guess what? Hey, it's time to tune in for Moms on a Mission, Raising Sons for Success. That's Saturday, uh, April 19th, beginning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 8:30 Central Time. And the topic is going to be never say. As you know how it is. You know what? I'll never get my doctorate's degree. I'll never go back to school. I'll never take that trip I want to take. Never say never. you have to set those goals. And I'm not going to even go into it. But anyway, if you have it in your mind that you want to do something, don't never say you won't do it. You got to make it happen. So tune in Saturday. And if you miss Saturday, you can always go to the rewind and look at it anytime that you want to on Facebook and YouTube. And then we'll be back on Tuesday for Blueprint for Success. I'll have a new guest, Crystal Roseman, and our topic is going to be a penny saved. Now you think about that, a penny. You want to tune in, and that's at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 p.m. Central Time. So I look forward to seeing you again. You can always catch Anastasia and I on the third Thursdays. This is our time together. So always tune in for that. And you'll catch Anastasia on some of the Saturdays as well. Because she is a mom on a mission. So remember, building your best life is our business. That's not a slogan. It's our commitment. I love you. Be blessed. Stay safe. Enjoy your weekend, your holiday, however you celebrate. Make sure you stay safe, though. A lot of things are going on. I love you. Be blessed. And thank you again, Anastasia.
Thank you too, Miss Deborah.
Bye-bye.